Why uncomfortable books like To Kill a Mockingbird are precisely the ones kids should be reading. Hello guys and welcome to I Love Reading, a channel about interesting book-related subreddit topics. If you love our content, please press the like button, leave a comment and lastly, if you're new here, subscribe to our channel. Now let's get started. Education needs to include learning how to think, as opposed to being taught what to think. If a mind is closed to analysis, contemplation and functional learning and study, then no book will help. Perception is key to learning and is shaped by belief. The closed mind and strong unchecked belief go hand in hand. Absolutely. I taught middle school ELAR for 6 years. There was a teacher in our department who had been teaching for 10 or so years and absolutely refused to teach anything that had to do with race. She wouldn't even put these types of books on her shelf for students to read independently. I am very much of the opinion that books are supposed to teach children about the real world. When The Hate U Give and All American Boys came out, I had them available for my students to read. With students I knew were a little more sheltered, I would check in with them and discuss what was happening in the books. Try to clarify or put it into context a little more for them. I actually bought a class set of Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes to teach to my kids. We did a study of every ghost boy mentioned, starting with Emmett Till. Not a single parent called to complain about the content I was teaching. It is all about how you present the material to kids. Context. I am in West Texas. I taught at a Title I school that was about 70% white, 25% Hispanic, and 5% black. We had a really interesting mix of very wealthy and extremely poor students. LMAO. Most kids don't even have entrenched enough worldviews to be uncomfortable. Whenever this debate comes up, it's just higher authorities, parents, school board members, etc., projecting their discomfort. We had to discuss this topic in my A-level English course in Germany. Our conclusion was that it is a whole different point of view if it actually is a book from that time. To Kill a Mockingbird is a really good example of that. It shows both the innocent view, Scouts and probably the one we have nowadays, and the common view of the society at that time. It teaches kids important values and lets them see what could happen to a society if they act based on hate and prejudices. To Kill a Mockingbird is one of the best books there is. Had to read it in school. It was only uncomfortable as a 14-year-old to read about rape, but the book itself is not an uncomfortable read. Totally agree, kids and everyone should read insightful books like that. To Kill a Mockingbird was the required reading the summer of my 8th grade year. That summer a man bumped into me, called me an N-word, assaulted my father, and they both were detained before the man was arrested and removed from the military base we lived on. The book became ever more poignant to me that summer, and I remember reading it at least twice, and the chill that overtook me during the trial and the subsequent events. But that book still stays with me to this day as a 28-year-old adult, and I think it's important for children to learn that history has these dark, uncomfortable, ugly moments. That this is the way the world was, and have open and frank discussions on if they see things like that happening again, and if so, what we can do to not only stop but prevent it. The real problem with To Kill a Mockingbird isn't the injustice or the N-word. Those are realities for POC in history and in the present that need to be acknowledged and are good discussion fodder for young people. The real problem is harder for young readers to see, and that is that the black characters are bland ciphers compared to the white characters, reduced to vehicles by which the white characters can figure out their own response to racism. It is well written, has many really lovely passages, and it's certainly not the worst classic book to spend time unpacking. But you gotta be willing to go deep into it, I think. My children both read To Kill a Mockingbird in school, but things have changed so much since I read it, I had to explain the context of the times to them. It was an awesome read to my generation, but it was kind of lost on them. It did spur a great discussion with them. Unpopular opinion. I have never seen what is so brilliant about To Kill a Mockingbird. It wasn't a bad book, mind you, it was fine, and I suppose it addressed an important topic, but from the way it's talked about in popular culture, you would think that it was the holy grail of American fiction. Perhaps it is because by the time I had gotten around to reading it, I had already gone through so many terrible and provocative books on subjects like racism and the Holocaust, that a book which dealt with racism in such a comparatively easy way just didn't have much of an impact on me. All in all, the book was fine, but neither the writing, the story itself, or any other part of the book seems worth the immense hype. Any English teachers want to vibe check me in the comments. I don't mind the required reading, but if schools want to instill a love of reading into kids, they should add some lighter, happier reads as well, really something from every genre. You learn when you work in a bookstore that everyone had different tastes. For one it's mystery, another true crime, romance, sci-fi, fantasy. If you never read a book of your preferred genre, you won't know you have a preferred genre, and you may think you don't like reading at all. There were 2 books in my youth that really cracked my concepts of racism and gender wide open. Native Son by Richard Wright has so much death and persecution anxiety written into its pages that I could feel the eggshells of walking around white people. And in Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God, there was a scene where the main character is being raped as a girl under a pear tree, and she's describing watching bees probe in and out of pear blossoms. That still to this day brings me to tears. As parents, nobody wants to intentionally subject their children to things that are ugly and painful. But sometimes you need a good crack in the foundation of naivety to awaken your kids about the world they're about to enter. There you have it, why uncomfortable books like To Kill a Mockingbird are precisely the ones kids should be reading. Note: all the books talked about in the video can be accessed through the links on the description below. Thank you for watching till the end. If you loved the video, don't forget to press the like button and also subscribe to I Love Reading. See you on the next video.